Well, thanks for coming on the call.
Yeah.
Just, just a little bit explanation then about what I do and sort of what I'm wanting to get from this is, so I run a supplements company, mainly focusing around sort of natural bodybuilding. But I know your background is a more professional fighting, but you're a personal trainer as well, aren't you, if I'm correct? You're a personal trainer as well? Yeah, sweet. So, I think I'm looking to sort of do weekly sort of videos of interviewing different people, talking to them from different sports and backgrounds about sort of can they did to sort of make sure they're always on peak performance, and then sort of release that to all my customers. There's about 2,000 sort of America, England, all over the place. Yeah. I just think they hope they just gain something from, whoever I'm speaking to. So I did a bit of research on you. Very interesting. Always cool to meet a boxer.
Yeah.
So you had 3 professional fights, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me a bit firstly about how you got into boxing. Was it from a young age?
So no, it was my dad boxed when I was a kid. He kind of stopped competitive boxing just before I was born. But he'd gone down to the gym a few times, and obviously my dad was in the army, so it was always in like military gyms. And I went down with him maybe 2 or 3 times when I was growing up as a kid. But then because you're moving around, we moved around lots. My dad left the regiment that he was with and went on to a thing called long service. He was getting posted around to different places. So I never really just went to our gym that I really enjoyed and liked. So yeah, I didn't really box until I got to university. Put on like my freshers weight and that, and then I was like, do you know what? I want to start getting back into shape, and I want to learn how to fight. I want to like start competing in that. Went and found a gym local to where my uni was, and just loved it. It was actually a mixed martial arts gym, and so went in there, and there was a couple of lads who were in there that basically we just trained day in, day out, and because I was at uni, I had like no responsibility really. So we'd get in there at like late afternoon and just stay there all evening, just doing all different disciplines and just trying to beat the crap out of each other in all different sort of like martial arts.
How did you find that then from like, because uni's quite an extreme environment in terms of drinking and whatnot. Did you find it hard to like control your conditioning while you're at uni, or how did you sort of balance that with student life?
Well, I guess it was always difficult because again, the uni I was at and the sort of my friendship group, I actually just think because we are just British people, we just love a booze up, don't we? So no, I did drink a lot, but I kind of after my second year or like during my second year, because it's a 4-year degree, in my second year, boxing started really taking off for me, and that was when I won the national title. I got put in line to fight for the national title. And then kind of when I got into that stage, I was like, right, no, I can't be doing this now. So then I would literally just take myself away from my friends. And I just always used to say like 6 weeks before a fight, that's it. Like, I'll see you on the other side. And yeah. Okay. It was really hard to get in, like to build that habit and build that discipline. But yeah, if I didn't manage to, I never would have made weight. Because you know what it's like with drinking and that, and after a session on beers, no one's going to go home to a salad, are they?
No, of course not.
So yeah,
and kebab.
Exactly, but it's not that. It's the recovery time, it's the sleep, and all those things have a real negative impact on your training and your health, of course, as well. So yeah, it was only kind of when I really started to think, actually, this is what I want from my life. It's kind of, I had to go through a real like kind of mindset shift in order to make that happen.
It's interesting because as well, like what we do at Tonvara, our main product is called Jugatak, which is like a sort of natural steroid that comes from a plant in Uzbekistan. Can you believe it? And so the majority of people taking our stuff are taking for bodybuilding reasons. But they also want to stay on the sort of natural, healthy side of things as opposed to going straight to steroids. But I think just, thinking aloud, do you think that, I imagine bodybuilding and boxing have quite a few similarities in terms of sort of the volume of training you have to do, and also maybe like And they're both sort of quite demanding on the body, aren't they?
Massively.
Quite intense exercise both ways.
It's quite funny, like the principles are very similar. Again, because when you're doing, especially contest prep or if you're doing powerlifting, depending on what kind of aspect of bodybuilding you're coming in from, again, it's a weight making sport. So you need to make sure that when you step on stage or when you're going on to one of your lift days, you need to be a certain weight. So again, a lot of the actual outlying principles of making weight, but also in a way that's not going to negatively affect your performance on that day, do very much align. And so I've been to quite a few, say, pure like bodybuilding conferences, expos, meets, and that sort of stuff. Again, to speak to people and to hear some of the leading minds talk about that, because again, they are so closely correlated.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, yeah, exactly. I completely agree. So that was very well put. So, as a boxer, then I guess you had to be massively. I know we're talking about uni and stuff, but maybe more post-uni then when you weren't in that student environment. You have to be sort of very meticulously planning your diet, certain foods, just completely not touching other foods. Was that sort of you having a diet plan every week? Was that something you were doing, or?
So it's similar, yeah. So I guess it's like you kind of, I'd reverse engineer where I was and where I wanted to be. So obviously that big fight day, and I'd usually give yourself sort of 8 to 12 weeks. Usually 8 because I just wasn't organised enough back in those days. And I'd say, right, I've got 8 weeks. I need to lose X amount of weight. What do I need to do basically in order to achieve that? But then also not take away from my performances as well. Because one thing I learned the hard way was I tried everything like the low carb diets, and it's all well and good. But when obviously performance is obviously a key focus as well. When you try and do like 10 rounds of sparring, you've not had a carb in like 2 days, you're essentially just a punch bag. You're just standing there going,
yeah, I can imagine.
You've got like zero energy. So I learned some of those bits the hard way. I'm quite lucky in the fact that one of my friends in uni, he's a sports nutritionist. And so I just had like a few good conversations with him. Like called David Dunn. And that's one thing that he kind of put out a few things to do about how to manipulate your diet around your heavy days, your low days, those sorts of things. So you'd have obviously almost like different caloric intakes and different calorie needs depending on what your training volume was for that day. Which
understood,
that made a huge difference to me.
Interesting. Okay, and you were in the super welter class, weren't you?
Well, my last fight was a super welter, but that was too light. That was like horrendously light. Because I mean that's what 69 kilos.
Really?
I didn't weigh 69 kilos when I was like 14 years old. I tried it and again, so I thought this guy was just a very back foot boxer. Victor, who's a very just back foot boxer, and he just ran around the ring and again just didn't have the huge amount of energy, and it was a monotonous fight, and I honestly I clearly thought I won it. I was in my eyes hugely robbed because I can literally remember he landed about one jab, and I was like for 4 rounds just chasing him around the ring. I was landing quite a few scoring punches, but I don't know. You know, it's one of those. I don't sit there. And
was he bigger than you, or?
He was just a bit tall. He was ranging me. He had longer arms. He was longer arms. He wasn't like a huge amount tall. He was like maybe 3 or 4 inches taller. He wasn't like a huge amount taller, but yeah, he was tall. He was ranger, but you know, he's as a journeyman, he knew what he needed to do. He just literally just skipped around the ring. And it's quite funny because there's a video that I put on my Instagram after, because obviously the ref announced him as the winner, and he just looked at him and what? We looked at the ref and he was like, what do you mean? It was one of them, and that was the thing. I was like, that's one thing. Obviously, maybe
also because I'm
go on.
I'm 6'4", right, and I'm not a boxer, and I'm by no means a professional boxer. So this is, you know, not the most useful opinion, but I always think as a tall guy, I'd rather fight another tall guy than like a sort of Mike Tyson, tiny, powerful guy.
Yeah.
That could sort of maybe get inside me, and I'd find them much more good to fight than someone of a sort of equal size. I don't know. Is that conventional boxing wisdom, or is that just completely wrong? What would you say?
Do you know what? There's no right and wrong way, because again, it's styles make fights. So usually with something like that, like I always used to, obviously being a little bit smaller for kind of the weight category for middleweight, I used to always enjoy fighting taller fighters. Again, because just like you said, then I could work on the inside. And the one thing that I've always had is my fitness. I've always had better fitness than anyone that's ever come near the ring like with me. So I know maybe the first 2 rounds, I'll take a few shots. Okay. I'll probably lose the first 2 rounds. As soon as I get past that second round, like, it's mine. Bit different in the pro game, because you got longer rounds, so you have to kind of play differently. But when it was just before pro, when you're doing like 2-minute rounds, yeah, I would probably lose the first 2, but then the next 4 rounds, it would just be my ballpark. Because fitness is a huge thing. That's it. And I just literally work on inside, tuck up, work inside, slipping shots, shooting to the body, and then by the 3rd round, they'd be a lot more tired. They'd start gassing out, and then you start landing a lot more shots as a result.
What's your view on because I think definitely a lot of my customers and people that I know in the UK as well, they're all quite tempted to do white collar boxing. You know, these you must know these events that you can do. 100%. I mean, people did them at uni as well at the nightclubs. Do you recommend them? Do you think it's a good way for maybe a sort of 24-year-old to get in?
I think for people, I think anything that is going to take you outside your comfort zone, that is going to challenge you, but then also that is going to make them focus and prioritize their health. Because what you find is a lot of people that do these white collar fights, they'll stop drinking, they'll start eating better foods, they'll start actually prioritizing getting good quality sleep, and like all these things will start to align. And so I'm always just like, if that's what it's got to take to make you sort your shit out and get in shape, then I'm like, definitely.
Yeah. And it's also like scary how much better you feel when you do that. You realize like you're operating at like 40% with your normal lifestyle. Then, as you say, you install those healthy habits, you moderate your consumption across alcohol, food. If you're a smoker, you might stop smoking. And then literally like you feel just like a completely different human being.
100%. It's mind-blowing. Like even now, like don't be wrong, like now I still eat very well, I still train, I'm still consistent with that, but the feeling that I used to get walking down to the ring, because I'm quite like, I used to get really neurotic about my training. So I'd always be like, it got to the point where I'd be like, right, 8 weeks before a fight, I'm not drinking, I wouldn't I always ban myself from eating certain, I used to get really neurotic about it, and I'm like, right, I'm on this. And that feeling, that sensation when you walk to the ring where you just like no stones left unturned, it's like I'd never miss a gym session, all that, and it's like feeling of confidence as well that invokes is it's phenomenal.
I can imagine. It's like you must feel like a rock star.
Yeah.
Walking down. Yeah. Okay. Well, couple more questions then, and then we'll finish up. Firstly, I think, what advice would you give to people generally, whatever their discipline, be it bodybuilding, football, rugby, boxing, to sort of stay on that path of discipline? Because obviously discipline comes naturally to some people. Some other people struggle with it more. And as you say, it's sort of like paramount, if not the critical factor. What sort of advice or any tricks or things that you have used in your career as a boxer to sort of make sure you don't shoot yourself in the foot, so to speak?
I honestly think disciplines learned. Like, I don't think anyone just wakes up one day and they're like, wow, I'm just not, like, no one is disciplined. But then again, not only that, is people are disciplined in different things, like different areas of their life. Or you get people who will slave away at work, yet their discipline in other areas is different. So again, I think it then comes down to like priorities. And the one thing I'd say to anyone who, if you don't have that priority in your health and fitness, you need accountability. Because it's the same with your job. The only reason you don't bum off work and you don't not hit your KPIs, you don't just sack that off, is because you know you're going to get P45. And it's quite simple. You know that if you cut it short, you're getting sacked. And so your boss keeps you accountable. Your manager keeps you accountable. And it's the same in your health. But if you can't prioritize that in your health and
But
fitness,
it's true, yeah.
then you need to have someone that's going to hold you accountable and be like, why are you doing this? Like, why do you keep doing this? And not only that, it's also having someone that's going to give you a clear plan, a clear strategy to get from where you are to where you want to go.
So I used to play football like quite competitively. And one thing I used to do as well when I was at my peak of taking it most seriously is I would like make like these little Word documents with literally like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and sort of what I'm going to eat that day, what I'm going to train that day by myself, if I'm going to go to the gym. And I think just because I'm not maybe massively a naturally organised person, and ultimately no one was going to do that for me. I'm not, a professional, like no one's. So I think putting things on paper as well, having like something tangible that you can touch and also see. And I used to love, like when I'd been to the gym or I'd done some training, I would then cross it out and I'd have this picture of my week.
To-do lists,
and it'd
mate.
be so
To-do lists are
satisfying
the
to
one,
sort of,
yeah.
Look at all these days.
Yeah, that's it.
100%. Yeah, exactly.
Everyone loves putting that tick.
Much
Everyone
easier
loves
way
that
of
tick.
saying it.
And it's exactly like
there's no better
business.
feeling.
It's exactly like business. So I call it my daily, like to my clients, and I call it the non-negotiables. So there's a certain amount of things you need to do in that day. It's just like when you go to work, you've got KPIs, you've got to spend X amount of time on the phone, you've got to email this amount of people, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, that's very sales related, but it's exactly the same in health and fitness. I'm like, right, you need to make sure you drink at least 2 liters of water today. You need to prioritize actually getting at least sort of 7 hours of sleep, like those sorts of things. It's having like little daily targets, because if you don't have a target, fucking who knows where you end up.
Yeah, exactly. All right, last question, but this is the most important question.
Go.
Fury or Joshua, and why? I want an explanation, not just tell me what you're thinking.
This is really tough, because the thing with the heavyweight as well, at that weight, one punch can change a fight. Fury has just unrivaled heart. He's proper like traveler. He's a fighting man. As he showed against Wilder, he got dropped savagely, got absolutely melted, but he still got up. So that's the thing. I think having done that, depending how much that actually took out of his punch resilience, I'd be surprised if Joshua would stop him. But at the same time, Joshua isn't like Wilder. Joshua's very technically sound. He's a very good actual boxer.
Yeah.
And so and that side of things will give Fury huge problems as well. I mean, the way that Fury's kind of played up in these last
he's technical, but he's not. He's
just with obviously the wider
issue.
Go on.
Yeah, just like Joshua. Once again, I defer to you on this, but like what Fury does say about Joshua does sort of make sense to me. There is like a robotic, the sort of weight lift. Yeah, he's technically tight and everything, but there's no head movement. There's a lot of vulnerabilities there. And I actually think, I don't know what you think about this, but like the traditional view of Fury was that he was just like sort of soft jelly guy who could dance, but would never actually really. And I know Wilder was a lot smaller than Fury, but now do you think Fury could knock out Joshua? Or do you think it would be Fury on points if he does win?
At that, only like I said, at that weight, anyone could knock anyone out, because I mean these guys are getting hit in the face with like 18 stone. Like not many people are withstanding that. But I mean, that's the thing was, it was obviously after AJ's sort of comeback fight, and when AJ's last few fights, he's looked even more tentative, which can be the complete downfall of a boxer, because as soon as you start hesitating in the ring, that's it, that's game over, because you're not going to start throwing those punches fluidly. Whereas obviously before he'd been stopped, don't get me wrong, he was a bit robotic, but now I think he still boxes. He boxed really, really well, and he did have nice movement. But the last few times I've seen him, he did look very tentative. Obviously, because he's been knocked out, that's always going to play on you. So again, when he get into the ring, it also depends on what mindset and what headspace AJ's in.
Yeah, agreed.
And then it also
Agreed.
depends on how well and at what stage. Obviously, Tyson Fury's lifestyle is going to catch up with him as well. That's always a big factor. So I mean, he's not young anymore, and he's as he's been shown, he's lived a fucking wild life. Whereas AJ's not. AJ's been, from what we know, he's a lot more kind of to the point. So yeah, I think the biggest thing.
He seems a lot more stable, not in a bad way to Tyson Fury. I think Tyson Fury would be the first to admit that he had struggles.
Yeah, but not even the struggles of that, but it's more like it's more like his lifestyle though. Like he's just been smashing out of the Euros, he was there just smashing coke with all his mates and like just going, wow, he's a proper party boy at heart. So it'd just be interesting to see how that, and not even how that, when that catches up to him, because at some point, that's gonna get you. So it just depends on. I mean, I think for Fury, the sooner he gets in the ring with AJ, the better.
Yeah, agreed. He's a ticking, exactly. He's declining.
I think to me, he at this point in time, Fury on points.
Is there anything you want to talk about yourself? Any boxing coaching you're doing and where you're doing it, in case anyone's interested who's watching?
Yeah, well, again, I do my online coaching, or if you're in London, I'm down in by Notting Hill Gate Station. I work out of Box Clever Sports. So you can check their website out and book coaching, like one-to-one coaching, or I just do online coaching. So you can just get me on Instagram at Key Leinster.
We'll put all of Kieran's details in the description, so you can get in contact with him if you want to learn how to use these bad boys
and get shredded and processed as well.
It doesn't sound too bad, to be honest.
No, mate. Well,
all right, brilliant. Well, I really appreciate your time today, Kieran. That was a lot of really interesting things you were saying. I think it was a very interesting journey from start getting back into uni to then turning professional. And I really appreciate you taking up the time today. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime, man. Great to speak.
Cheers, man. All right.
Take care, mate.
Take it easy.